In this video, we'll have a head-to-head showdown between three of the biggest AI video agents on the market right now. And honestly, after testing all of them, the differences were way bigger than anything I could have expected. That's why in this video, we're going to walk through the entire side-by-side comparison, so you'll know exactly which AI agent is the best to use for your project. Now, the three agents that we are going to be testing today are InVideo agent, HeyGen agent, and Higgsfield supercomputer. And to make sure that everything is super fair, we're going to be testing each one with the exact same prompt, making sure that these settings are also the same with the same target output, which is a 30-second video at 16:9 with audio on. Now we're going to be scoring all three of them across three different categories. The first one is going to be a credit check to actually see how much everything will cost. Then the UI clarity, actually making sure that it's pleasant to use. And then the workflow quality, so actually how good the generations are. And whoever scores the highest is going to be the best agent out there. Starting off with the first category, which is the credit check. This is the safety check for any AI agent because these tools can burn through credits, and they can do it really fast. This means that you really need to have prior knowledge of how much this stuff actually costs, so you can have any idea of what is actually at stake if any generation doesn't go as planned, and you're not just throwing money at the wall for nothing. Starting off with InVideo, and the first thing I'm going to do is drop in this test prompt right here, and the agent kicks off and goes straight into generating. However, this is a red flag. It never tells you what each image or each video clip is actually going to cost. You're basically having to watch credits get spent with no way of knowing how far this will actually go. Unfortunately, I'm having to give it a 6 out of 10 here. The agent does what it says it'll do, but the lack of transparency is a problem. Now with that being said, let's jump over to HeyGen, which is honestly pretty much the same, but slightly worse. It has the same lack of credit visibility as you can see right here, but the workflow itself wastes credits on regenerations that don't even actually change anything, which we'll cover a little bit deeper later on. That honestly makes it even worse than InVideo. Here, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10 on this one. Now finally, let's jump over to Higgsfield supercomputer. Here, I'm going to, same as the first time, drop in my test prompt. And as you can see, it actually surfaces exactly how many credits the next step will cost and waits for you to approve. Now that is crucial. It means that you can actually see the cost. You can judge whether it's worth it or not. And maybe you just want to decide that you don't really want to make the call, and you always have that ability, giving you that much more control of your own money. For that, I'm going to give Higgsfield a 9 out of 10. And the only reason it's not a 10 is because the credit estimates could actually just be more granular. For this round, Higgsfield wins it over both InVideo and HeyGen, which brings us to the next one. And this part actually matters a lot. It is a huge part of the experience, whether you can actually orient yourself, and we cannot ignore it. So jumping back inside InVideo. Now the UI here is actually pretty decent. While the agent runs, you can actually see what task it is working on. You know, whether it's generating character images, building the storyboard, or generating each video clip. And all of it is visible in real time, which not only gives you a little bit of a feeling of safety, it is also just nice to watch and know what step of the process you are on. So I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Now HeyGen has cool real-time task visibility as well. The interface itself is really nice, but the stop button doesn't seem to work properly. I personally think that one of the biggest things with AI is having the ability to just be able to turn it off if you're not happy with something, and not having that ability is pretty bad. So I cannot really give it anything more than 8 out of 10, similarly to InVideo. And then we have the Higgsfield supercomputer. As you can see here, we still have the same real-time task visibility as the other two, but here the stop button is actually working. That single feature is what really makes the difference between a good and a decent UI, and for that I have to give it a 10 out of 10. So Higgsfield takes round 2 as well. And with that being said, let's jump over to the third and arguably the most important category, which actually is the part that ultimately decides whether your final video is actually going to look good or not. And the reason this is so important is because you can have everything else work exceptionally, but if the agent doesn't actually structure the workflow properly, your output is going to be pretty bad, no matter how nice the UI or how clear the credit checks are. Starting off with InVideo again, now to its credit, the workflow opens up really well. It generates the character images first. Then it builds out the entire storyboard, which is the correct sequence. But the problem comes after that, because instead of generating each video clip with a reference back to the previous one, it generates 10 separate short videos all at once. Let's take a look. As you can see, the cuts don't feel connected at all because none of them reference each other for continuity. The characters also look slightly different throughout the video. Now, it is not critical, especially since we are getting more time, but still, not being able to hang on to the directions and actually interpret them in the way I intended is pretty bad. The quality of each individual shot is, yes, really high, but the assembly of it all and the final result just doesn't look good at all. And for that, I have to give InVideo a 6 out of 10. Going over to HeyGen, the storyboard steps are again there, but the edits don't actually apply, which I found out the hard way when I asked it to generate 2 avatars, and it kept returning just one. There's also no separate character and location generations. We have basically no control at all of the individual elements in the scene. That completely ruins the final output and actually just gives you something that is maybe just 50% of what you originally intended to do. The whole thing feels like the agent is actually just working against you. Let's take a look.
Target in sight. This ends today. I'm moving in for the final strike. He's faster than the intel suggested, but I've trained for this. We're moving at 80 miles per hour. One chance to end this before we hit the bridge. Hang on tight, it's about to get rough.
And for that, I'm having to give HeyGen a 4 out of 10 here. Now let's move on to Higgsfield. The agent here generates 3 different character image options for the first avatar and lets you pick. Then it does the same for the second one and again for the location. Now that immediately lifts the entire experience up because it means that every step you're basically approving exactly what gets locked in for the rest of the run. One thing that's really impressive is that when it generates the next video, it uses the previous one as a reference. Now it does pretty much 2 things. It ensures that your characters never drift like they did in InVideo, and that the overall cuts stay seamless. Now that thing, plus all the other stuff like the lighting matching, makes the final output look really, really good. Let's take a look. I mean, the overall quality is very cinematic. There are no bad cuts in between. Everything stays locked in. And it honestly is so much more immersive than what you get from the other 2. And for that, I'm having to give Higgsfield an 8 out of 10. And with the workflow quality done, Higgsfield wins this round as well, which also automatically makes it the total winner across all of the categories we've covered. And honestly, after running all 3 of these tests side by side, the gap between Higgsfield and the other 2 isn't even close. So if you want to go ahead and use the best AI video agent out there, go ahead and sign up to Higgsfield using my link down in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.